So it's been several months now since SDXL from Stability AI came out and revolutionized the game in terms of the image resolution that we can get from Stable Diffusion. I'm still impressed with the kind of images that we're getting, and I gotta say I'm a little bit creeped out by the spider that we're seeing there. However, one of the biggest developments we have seen recently is the issue of SSD 1B. This is a new model based on an old model, and is based on SDXL, the Stable Diffusion Extra Large. It's actually so close in terms of the quality of the images. Sometimes it actually beats SDXL. Been testing this for quite some time, and I do have a video about SSD 1B. It's basically a kind of a breakdown of SDXL, which takes out some of the characters in SDXL and makes it leaner, smoother. It makes it faster, and sometimes it actually produces better images than SDXL. So you certainly want to see the video that I cover SSD 1B in, because it's a really interesting new development, and it took me quite some time before I found cases where SSD 1B performed worse than SDXL, but there are plenty of cases where you do want the more powerful SDXL, and there are even better, in my view, models than SDXL. Those do require more power, so whilst you can run SSD 1B on some of the less powerful systems that we've been using, if you can afford it, I do recommend trying to get something more powerful in terms of your GPU at the entry level for GPUs for Stable Diffusion. Now, the first recommendation I'm making is the MSI Gaming GeForce. This is the Ventus edition. It is a 2-fan card, and the one thing that you need to be aware, maybe a possible negative, is that it is HDMI, DisplayPort, and DVI. DVI is kind of an old standard, but for some people this might be suitable, and it comes with a 6-pin connector, which is probably going to be very compatible for most PCs. There is another CPU, there's another GPU called the 1650, and the 1650 is available with 4 GB of VRAM. That one is sometimes $50, $60, $70 less, but it is so much poorer in terms of performance. I would strongly recommend, if you can afford the RTX 3050 8 GB, that you make this your default entry-level purchase. I'll have a link to all of these in the description if you want to get one of these, and the links will be for the United States and other Amazon sites. However, I would say that if you can't get this particular one, there are lots of other alternatives that you can get. 1-fan is something I don't recommend, and there are a few 1-fan editions of this card. 1-fan tends to be loud. 2 fans is very good. If you want to know more about the brands that we're talking about here, I have a video that covers the brands, and I'll link to that below. That video will give you an idea of why I'm making some of the recommendations that I am making. Now, the second card we're recommending is the RTX 3060 12 GB. This one is currently the best selling one, and I'm recommending the Zotac gaming one. This one, Zotac is a good company because they do offer an extended warranty. If you register the GPU, in some countries they offer you a 4-year, sometimes you can get up to a 5-year warranty, and that's pretty decent. This one is currently on Black Friday reduction at $270. It's pretty decent value, and from an AI perspective, this is where the value is. This is where you're getting real value. If you can't find this exact one, you'll probably find others maybe on sale during the Black Friday season. I wouldn't be too fussy about which one you go for, but do watch the video on the different brands. You may find that some brands, maybe you're not gonna be so keen to purchase those ones. The RTX 3060 is a very good entry-level card for AI and for Stable Diffusion in particular. Now, the next card we're going to recommend comes from the family of the RTX 4060 16 GB. Now, the price of these ones tend to be significantly higher than the card that we just recommended, and this is going to be difficult for some guys. However, I did find something really cool. There is one card currently that is selling at a really reasonable price, and this one is the Zotac gaming card. The 4060 Ti 16 gigabytes is a really good value card if you want a card that is not just going to be relevant this year, but which probably is going to be relevant next year as well. This one has just arrived in stock. It's very new. It has this kind of curved aesthetic that you're finding on some of the more high-end Zotac cards. And it also has quite a bit of bling bling. You've got a little bit of lighting happening in different parts of the card. It's about $100 more than the non-16 gigabyte one, the 8 gigabyte one. But that extra 8 gigabytes makes a lot of difference. Now, I'll link to this one. I think it's excellent value. I don't think you should wait around for Black Friday reductions. I think this is it. This is the price where you're going to get real value. Now, there are lots of others that you should look at if you can't find that one. If that one's run out, there are definitely plenty of others. I like the look of the PNY ones. This one is $450. And there's also an MSI one. MSI have different colors. So if you're looking for a white one, this Ventus one, there's a white version of that one. What we're finding is that at this sort of price level, which is sort of medium, entry level to medium, there's a lot available. When we go above this, we begin to find problems with availability of cards. But certainly at the highest level, there are some serious shortages happening with NVIDIA cards. Now, I've had a number of questions being asked quite recently about the 4060 Ti 16 gigabytes versus the 4070. Go for the 4060 16 gigabyte one. There is a card known as the 4070 Ti, and this one is another 12 gigabyte card like the 4070. It is not that much more expensive, but it is way more powerful than the 4070. It used to actually be called the 4080 at one point. This one is super powerful, and even though it's 12 gigabytes, there are some use cases where if you want to do a lot of limited size Stable Diffusion 1.5 workflows, it's going to be just fine. If you want to increase the workflows to include some of the more recent models, it's going to struggle a little bit, but it is such a powerful card that there may be use cases where someone is not doing primarily Stable Diffusion. Maybe they're working with Photoshop, Premiere Pro, the Adobe Creative Cloud. In that situation, if Stable Diffusion is not your primary thing, this one is probably one of the better value ones. The one thing I would hesitate to strongly recommend this right now is we have some indications that there may be new cards coming along, and all of the high-end cards might be affected by this new arrival. And sometimes you have quite a lot of extra value with the new cards. Look, if you need this one over the next 2 weeks, by all means, there's a lot of them. I do like this Ventus, the Zotac ones. I also like the MSI 4070 Ti. But if you need it over the next couple of weeks, the prices are okay. But if you can wait a while, I'll probably wait until about January, February to see if we get maybe an update that might be a bit more powerful, maybe even less expensive. That is it for this recommendation. I hope you found some of that useful. If you did, hit the like button on the video and maybe subscribe for more videos. I'll see you soon.